Thank you. I am very, very glad to be here. Getting to hear Eric was an extra benefit. I did not expect that, did not know until I think earlier today that I was going to get to speak alongside Eric. It's always wonderful to get reinvigorated in the commitment to that cause. And I also just appreciate very much interaction with home inspectors. I know our whole organization does. And our goal is a back and forth. Our goal is a continual and frequent interaction so that the two groups are not, distant from each other. Door and Access Systems Manufacturers Association, our members account for over 95% of the U.S. garage door market. We have 5 main divisions: commercial and residential garage door division, door operator and electronics division, rolling door division, high performance door division, and gate operator division. That one's been interacting with the Hummingbird Alliance. The 2 of those divisions that are important for home inspectors are the first 2. Commercial and residential garage door division. I guess that's about 25 companies there, all the big names in manufacturers of garage doors in the US and Canada, and the door operator and electronics division. Likewise, all the big names certainly, and pretty much all the little names too, almost all the little names. I have been Technical Director of DASMA since October 2021. And for 28 years before that, I was first with Wayne Dalton. Then Wayne Dalton got bought by Overhead Door. I was mostly in rolling doors and then garage doors after that, and then all kinds of different kinds of doors. But anyway, 28 years in the industry before becoming Technical Director of DASMA. All right, so certainly we in DASMA, as you would expect, have a lot to say about safety, and to that end, we have developed industry standards and some state and even federal regulations that we'll be looking at here in a bit. It's not uncommon for double car garage doors to weigh 300 or 400 pounds or more, and we all tend to take them for granted. They're very reliable, but they do break and accidents do happen. So I like to tell people, imagine your refrigerator being pulled up over your head and now you're going to walk underneath it. You'd keep a pretty close eye on it. Well, that's the kind of weight we're talking about with garage doors. So DASMA does appreciate ASHI's help in getting people to take their garage doors a little less for granted and to keep them properly adjusted and maintained. Again, these are very reliable, very safe products, but prior to 1993, the story was a little bit different. There were injuries, not infrequently, even fatalities. Clearly, improvements were needed. That picture was very clear, I think, by the late 80s, and the industry got together and made big changes that we'll be talking about in 1993. While garage doors are not the most expensive item you will inspect, they are one of the best investments, I think, with respect to resale. Remodeling Magazine publishes cost versus value reports every year. In 2020, you're looking at the top 5 from the 2024 report. Garage doors were number 1 in percent cost recouped in resale. And for the last 7 years, they've been number 1, 5 of the last 7 years, and number 2 the other 2 years. All that information is kept at JLC Online, public information. All right, so what are these industry standards? There are 3, and the first one is far and away the most important. That's why it's in bold type there. UL 325 automatic garage door operators. ANSI DASMA 103 for counterbalance systems, and ANSI DASMA 116 for section interface. We'll talk about all 3. First up, UL 325, that's Underwriters Laboratories Standard 325 for safety. The title of the document is Door, Drapery, Gate, Louver, and Window Operators and Systems. And the key word there is operators. The standard does not regulate anything about doors themselves, just operators. And this has been actually adopted into federal law. Not just by reference, but they actually have the content of UL 325 adopted into a federal law, which requires all residential garage door operators manufactured after January 1, 1993 to comply with UL 325. Now, that standard underwent massive changes before that date. And you can find the manufacturer's date, should be able to find the manufacturer's date, the manufactured date of the operator on the operator nameplate. And state and local laws may apply to even older units. For example, California, 1991. A little ahead of the curve in that state. All right, so what are the requirements? UL 325 standard for safety, number one, an inherent force sensing feature during door closure, inherent to the operator, so inside the guts of the motor operator, force sensing feature during door closure that reverses within 2 seconds of sensing an obstruction, an external entrapment protection device external to the operator, such as an edge sensor or photoelectric eye, monitored to preclude unprotected momentary contact closure. Monitored means that the operator knows it's there, and if it's not properly connected, the operator will not move. Momentary contact refers to just touching the control button with your finger and letting it go. That's the more dangerous way to operate a door. The more safe way is to press the button. And this isn't a person's decision. This is all in the way the operator's wired. The safer way is to require the person to press the button and hold it continually until the door's all the way closed. Obviously, you're seeing what's happening when you do that. You have to stand there. You can't walk away and not see what's happening. And that's called constant contact or constant pressure. And lastly, an inherent timer that moves the door upward after 30 seconds if the door has not fully closed. That almost never comes into play because the other safety features are redundant to it.
So, Dave,
So there you
got a
go.
question. Dave,
Oh
if you
yeah,
don't mind,
go right ahead.
we got a question here regarding the electric eye. Are you aware of any kind of a failure where if the beam is broken, then it will continue to close?
No. I mean that's what would you call that? A faulty eye? I've not heard of that.
Yes, I think the system is designed so that it must receive that signal in order to function. The electric eyes have to communicate with each other
Right.
in order for the door to
That's
function.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we've all accidentally bumped the eye a little bit and it doesn't work, or you park your car a little too far out of the garage and it doesn't work. That's the way it always works.
Or there's a leaf attached to the bottom of the door.
Yeah.
Right. While I got your attention here, we had another question about kind of general. Is there any resource available to us with inspection questions from DASMA? Is there a way for us to contact DASMA with questions?
Well, there's an entire database of technical data sheets on our website that is free for public view and download and distribution. There's probably 10 of those that deal with UL 325. I'm just guessing, but there's a whole bunch of them that deal with UL 325. One of the main resources for inspection questions we're going to be going over here in detail in a few minutes.
Good.
Okay. All right, let's keep going here. So there you go. There's your reversing test. You see the little 2x4 you can see in the upper left picture, in the upper right picture. because the door has reversed, so it's going back up. And there's your photo eyes. All right, so let's talk about the ANSI DASMA 103 standard for counterbalance systems on residential sectional garage doors. This was developed by DASMA in collaboration with the CPSC, Consumer Product Safety Commission. 3 options for components under counterbalance tension and the associated fasteners. And this has to do, obviously, with the springs. So number 1, the fasteners cannot be removed before spring tension is released. And number 2, fasteners require special knowledge, skill, or tool to remove. 3, fasteners shall be read and warning labels shall be provided. Not every fastener on the door, just those that are especially sensitive, that hold that spring tension. And here you got some pictures here. So this center bracket holding the shaft that the springs are attached to, you can sort of see the red head fasteners right there, and the red fasteners on the set screws on the spring winding cone. And not a great picture, but the set screws on the drum are also red, and the set screws on the bottom corner bracket are also red. So that's just one way to do it. Again, there's 3 ways to do it, but those are the sorts of fasteners we're talking about. Okay, so that's 103, and ANSI DASMA 116 is the standard for section interfaces on residential garage door systems. This was developed by DASMA in collaboration, again, with the CPSC, and this one addresses concern of finger pinch between sections of a moving garage door. What I should have said, I don't believe I did on DASMA 103 and also on this one, these are voluntary standards. These are not in any building code. They're not in any law. They are just industry standards that we recommend. Again, just like the technical data sheets, they are available on our website for download and distribution and viewing free of charge. I think it was about 30 years ago, the concern got pretty big somehow about finger pinches, and a lot of manufacturers started changing the design of their section interface to what you see on the left here, where the tongue, it's a tongue and groove joint, but the tongue is very tall. So you can kind of picture a finger trying to get in there. Well, with the big radius and the tall finger, you really cannot get pinched in that joint. And of course, you're thinking of the time when the door's on its way up and it's going through that radius at the top of the opening. That's where, it doesn't happen often, but some people lose their heads and they want to grab that section joint. It seems like a convenient place to grab and pull down, and that's where you can lose a finger. And that's quote unquote the good design, the one that's promoted by ANSI DASMA 116. And the one with the big red X through it is by no means is that obsolete. In fact, I would say it's far more common than the design on the left, because once again, this is a voluntary standard and there are other ways to protect yourself from getting pinched. And manual operation of garage doors is not that common. So the industry has not gravitated very much at all toward the design on the left, but it's out there. I don't know, 10% of the doors, maybe something like that. Depends on region. And you can see here where you got a big gap when the door starts articulating for fingers to fit in. So that's option 1 by the standard. Option 2 is 2 handles or gripping points inside and outside the door on the bottom and second or third section, and that's what they might look like on the inside, and that's what they might look like on the outside. Obviously, the one on the right is more of an older design. You don't see that too often these days in new construction. The one on the left is very common. In fact, I walked around 2 new developments not far from my house, and every single door on them looked exactly like that, with those handles and those fake hinges like that. Okay, so just to summarize what we've done so far, we heard of a federal law, UL 325, and 2 voluntary standards. Now, just to get in a bit to the state regulations, this is in no way comprehensive, just dipping our toe into the state regulations. States such as California, Indiana, Minnesota, and New York have regulation on repairing operators non-compliant with UL 325, and there's cities and counties and maybe other states as well. And states such as Alabama, Arkansas, California, Connecticut, Florida, Minnesota, Montana, New Jersey, South Carolina, and Texas regulate garage doors for wind load. Plus, cities and counties do the same. One of the big ones is Denver. Many of those increasingly those jurisdictions are requiring a label on the door. The 2021 International Residential Code requires a wind load label, yes, on every single garage door, believe it or not. And that is true. Whether that happens or not is another question. How it gets enforced is a big question, but that is what the code states, and that is law in any state that has adopted the 2021 International Residential Code. Other home inspector requirements may apply for both door and operator. Service or repair, once again, a state regulation in California, and this is in DASMA Tech Data Sheet 351. They require that 2x4 test laid flat. We'll get into that in more detail later, but that's explicitly called out in California law. Okay, so now I'm going to begin a long series of slides on Tech Data Sheet 167.
Hey, Dave, before you do that, real quick, before you do that, are you aware of any certification programs or certifications for garage door mechanics?
Yes. The Institute for Door Dealer Education and Accreditation, IDEA. So you can learn about them at doors.org. That is our dealer base. First of all, the dealer base of the manufacturers, the installers, and the dealers of garage doors. That organization has collaborated with DASMA to create this IDEA group that certifies garage door technicians and installers and many other people in associated industries round the clock. That is their purpose in life, is to do that kind of certifications. So yes. And I'll touch on that at the very end of this presentation. Just a word on terminology. You can find industry jargon in DASMA Technical Data Sheet 160. One common misnomer is panel versus section. We call those 2-foot tall by 16-foot wide things sections. A lot of people call them panels, and sometimes we slip up and call them panels too, but most often we call panels those individual little raised panels that you see everywhere, or the group of windows. So Technical Data Sheet 167 looks like this. Don't try to read all that. We're going to go over it in detail. I just want to show you what it looks like. Categories on the left, a lot of detail on the middle, and yes/no checklist on the right. 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, 4 page, 3.5 pages. Tools needed: tape measure, flashlight, 2x4, remote control optional, ladder or a step stool may be needed. The tech data sheet, the checklist, is split into 2 parts. Part A is the door, which works for a manually operated door. Part B is the electric operator. If the door is manually operated, Part A only is what you do. If it's electrically operated, you do both. It is in a simple yes/no format, and if you answer no to any of the questions or encounter a problematic situation with the door, stop the inspection, urge the homeowner to contact the trained door systems technician for an inspection and repair. Hollis referred to that earlier. Part A, the door. Start inside the garage with the door fully closed, and look first at the warning labels. There should be 4: spring label, general label, labels near the bottom corner brackets, or if you don't have labels at the bottom corner brackets, you should have tamper-resistant fasteners in there. Okay, what happened? There we go. That's what the spring tag looks like up there. There it is, closer up. And on the left, you see the label that should be on the left bottom corner and on the right bottom corner. And on the right, you see the general label about don't stand in front of the door, don't walk in front of the door, stuff like that, and a bunch of detail that should go somewhere on a section. Okay, item 2, springs and hardware. Are all hardware parts securely and appropriately attached and damage-free? Yes, no. That is a very big question with a very simple answer. There are, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 hardware parts, and each one of them has 4 fasteners. So you could spend all day doing that, but really you should be able to tell at a glance. And especially if it's new construction, there's no problem. But obviously, you don't do um, only new construction. So, take a scan. Nobody's asking you to go up with a wrench and to try things or to get your head a couple inches from each item, but just stand back and look and see if you see anything loose or broken. Springs, spring fasteners, cables are a big one. Roller brackets and hinges, operator attachment. Operator attachment is a big one. Uh, it shouldn't be a problem, but it oftentimes is because the door's not properly balanced and the operator's doing all the work and yanking things loose. Vertical tracks secured firmly, not bent. A lot of times the jambs might be split by the screws, and that's a recipe for bad things. Same thing. It's even worse if the wood is split at the header and the spring pads because that's where a lot of force is. Here's a good one. All tracks are about half an inch from the door edge. Um, so I wish I had a picture. I'll try to get a picture for that next time. But uh, you can see that best when the door's up. Okay, so there should not be a big gap there. If you see an inch there, that's oh, that's an invitation for that door to shift left and right. And when it shifts left and right, one of those rollers can fall out or bend, and that's going to be causing trouble. And if it's a lot less than half an inch, you're going to have rubbing and too much friction. Horizontal track secured firmly to the ceiling and not warped, sagging, or bent. That's what a broken spring looks like after it scatters its grease all over the place. And just some examples of hardware: center hinge, end hinge, horizontal track and back hangs, rollers, pulleys for extension springs. I don't think you see extension springs a whole lot anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I see a
Torsions.
lot of them.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Torsion spring, operator J-arm, and drums. Pull rope should only be there for manually operated doors. Lift handle can be there for any door. Top bracket, U-bar strut, and track bracket. And a frayed cable. Uh, well worth having a glance at the cables to see what kind of shape they're in. And a broken hinge and a operator arm that's at too steep of an angle. Okay, item number 3, spring containment. I show a broken spring here, but just for the sake of showing you the containment, torsion springs have inherent spring containment. That shaft is their containment. When they break, they don't go anywhere. So extension springs, on the other hand, may or may not have containment, and they absolutely should. And here's one that's kind of wigged out, and it does have containment. It has a cable going through it. It's not broken, but if that spring did break and that cable wasn't there, it can go flying, and it can be very dangerous when that happens. So yeah, that's a easy one to check and an important one to check on extension springs.
So Dave,
There
do
it
you have
is.
any comments about the location of the torsion spring? Does that have to be centered on the door opening or?
No, no, that doesn't matter at all. It could be anywhere. Okay.
Good, thanks.
Number 4, door sections. So now for the first time, you're inside and outside also the garage with the door fully closed. Look at the sections, just see, is there any sign of fatigue, cracking, separation, delamination? Um, wood or steel doors, rusted, cracked, bent, creased, delaminated, separated layers, broken glass, unsealed windows. Very obvious stuff like that. Very obvious. Very obvious. I mean, you can see stuff like that all the time. Really should not be tolerated. Number 5, locking device. Just check it real quick, see if it works. Item 6, door operation. Balance is critical for garage doors. You can think of the springs in the door weight as being evenly balanced. That's the intention anyway. They should be evenly balanced, just like two weights on different sides of a pulley. If they are evenly balanced, the operator, the motor operator, has a very light and easy job, and that is the way it should be. You know, people talk about 1/3 horse, half a horse, 3/4 horse. The operator really should be doing very little work if things are properly balanced. Of course, they're not always properly balanced, so you get a lot of strain on the motor operator. Broken, obviously, usually you can't operate anything when it's broken, but quite often, especially on commercial doors, but it does happen on residential doors, the springs are not adequate, and the operator's killing itself trying to drag the door up and down. The other thing I wanted to point out here is that regardless of the balance condition, every ounce of weight on that door is on that cable. So you have a cable attached to the left bottom corner and the drums at the top, and a cable attached to the right bottom corner and the drums at the top. It doesn't matter if the springs are perfectly balanced. That cable has every ounce of that weight, even so. So that the cable is a very important part. Properly balanced door stops nicely at the floor, in the middle, and at the top. Some designs, however, cannot be balanced perfectly. This one has really tall sections, and probably that top section's a lot lighter than the solid wood underneath it, which is going to make the balance a little wonky. And more often than this, because wood doors aren't the most common, you'll have heavy glazed top sections with insulated glass and light solid sections that also create wonky balance. But you'll have to use your judgment there. It's not going to be perfect, but it shouldn't be too bad either. Next item, well, no, this is the same item, manual door operation. So we've listed 6 items to check there, but hopefully, once you get used to doing it, you should be able to blitz through these quickly. Just look and see if there's handles or gripping points, and does the door move freely. Obviously, before you do this, you have to pull that red. If the door is motor operated, which most often it is, you'll have to pull that red disconnect and try all this. So do the rollers stay in the track during operation? Does the door stay in the fully open position? And does the door stay in the partially open position 3 or 4 feet above the floor? If the door is electrically operated, this step is deferred until item 11. Now we're on to part B, the electric operator. Start inside the garage with the door fully closed. There's your first item of business is the wall label. A warning label goes by the wall control.
Wait a minute, Dave. Wait a minute. Let me back up a minute. Did you just say that you're going to defer the manual operation till after you do the automated operation?
No. It's coming up pretty quick. It's not all the way through the electric operation. It's just we just got a few more steps.
Okay.
So next step is manual release handle. Make sure it's there. Should be red. Should be no more than 6 feet above the floor. Number 9, make sure you have a wall-mounted control button that's in clear view of the door and beyond all reach of moving parts of the door, at least 5 feet above nearby walking surfaces to make sure kids cannot reach it, at least short kids. And then if you have a locking device, which you often do on electrically operated doors, make sure it's disengaged. And then here we go, the manual door operation we've already covered, but this is when you do that. If your door is electrically operated, just after you check those few simple other things. Then you do the electric operation using the wall-mounted control button. Does the door fully open and rest above the header? Does the door fully close and leave no gap at the floor? Is the door operation smooth and quiet? Does the trolley rail remain firm or does it sag under load? That's the basic approach. If you want to offer a little more advanced inspection, you can check the remotes, check the keyless entry, check the smartphone app. Smartphone apps have to be preceded by 5 seconds of visual and audible alarms. That's very good to know. It's unsafe for people to use their smartphone to move their garage door remotely and nobody's watching that door and it's just going up and down. You need at least 5 seconds of visual and audible alarms before that door moves.
So can the remote, since someone can operate that door remotely without putting eyes on the door?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that a
that's
good idea?
legal.
Is that a
Yeah,
good
well,
idea?
it's only permitted if you warn them, whoever might be there, um, both visually and audibly. So it covers the blind and the deaf, and they try to cover everybody. Get out of the way, the door's about to move. So yeah, it's well, what can I say? That's what's permitted. It's the advance of technology, and they have made provision for safety, but they don't want to completely prohibit that kind of operation as smartphones do more and more things for us. Same thing with timer to close, which I don't know how common that is on residential, but if it's used, it also needs to be preceded by at least 5 seconds of visual and audible alarms. And again, this is all an advanced inspection that wouldn't be part of a normal ordinary inspection.
So the alarm is something. So say that again. So if I'm operating this thing from work, I get to work and I realize, oh darn, I forgot to close the garage door.
Yeah,
So I push a button and somebody is standing under the garage door.
yeah,
Or somebody's standing close to it, or the cat is asleep under the
right, right,
garage door, but it's a small cat, so that's below the electric eye. There's an
right,
audible alarm that the cat probably won't recognize.
right, right.
There's a visual alarm. What's the visual alarm?
Strobe.
There's a strobe, which the cat's not going to get the cat's attention either.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think I got it.
Number 13, electrical receptacle outlet, GFCI within cord length, no extension cord permitted. Number 14, 15, and 16 are critical because they're what happened in 1993. So they made a huge, 14, 15, and 16 made a huge difference in the safety of these systems. So we place a big emphasis on 14, 15, and 16. Federal law 14 is photo eyes. Federal law states that residential garage door operators manufactured after 1992 must be equipped with inherent force sensing, see item 16, and secondary protection such as photo eyes or some other safety reverse feature that meets UL 325 standards. Okay, so photo eyes, if they're there, which they usually should be, unless you have some other provision, the beam should be no more than 6 inches above the floor. If the photo eyes are not there, verification is required from the door operator manufacturer that photo eyes are not required. So that's a simple check, tape measure, 6 inches, the beam itself, not the bottom of the unit. That one doesn't really look extremely high, but it is. It's probably about 9, 8, maybe 8 inches, maybe 10. I don't know. It's more than 6. That one's okay. It's only like 2. No higher than 6 inches is the law. Item 15, photo eye reversal test. Door fully open, stand inside the garage, safely away from the path of the door. Press a remote control or a wall mounted control button to close the door. As the door is closing, wave an object in the path of the photo eye. Does the door reverse and return to the fully open position? Very simple.
Okay, well, Dave, this is the one I've been waiting for because we got a
Okay.
question, or probably more like a comment, earlier when the question was posed to you, have you ever seen the electric eye
Yeah,
fail? And you said no. And
yeah.
the next comment was, therefore, this test is irrelevant, right? Or that's one of our members' concept here, is that this test really doesn't do anything if the electric eye is fail safe. And I've
Well,
never thought of that before, but that's the comment.
well, I guess that's the whole point, though, isn't it? Is that you want to make sure that it does work, and not just rely on the idea that it has to work.
Mhm.
But it's a test to make sure that it does work.
Yeah, I think I'll keep doing it. But I mean, I see his point, right?
Please do. Yeah, I kind of see the point. It's like, well, nothing's going to happen if that's the way the system is designed for everything to freeze up if the photo eyes don't work. And this is, you could say, a backup test, but on the other hand, I would say photo eyes, in my opinion, are the number one reason why injuries and fatalities have gone down since 1993. So please continue to test them. It's very simple. This is a quick test.
So real quickly, while I got you here, I don't know if you're going to get to it or not, but the slack in the chain, is there any tolerance for chain slack?
Yeah, that's going to be in the operator instructions, Hollis. Uh, I don't know that there's a standard number for that. We don't have anything published on that as an industry. But I very much appreciate the question because you see loose chains, they're too loose and they dump grease on the sections and it looks like a big black streak down the middle and it looks horrible. So yeah, that's a good idea. That should be checked too.
So too much slack is too much.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you'll find that in the operator instructions. Very
We got
good.
somebody here saying that the photoelectric sensors can be bypassed and therefore the test should be done. I don't
Well,
know.
they can be bypassed by uh people do this sometimes. They'll just locate them somewhere else and face them right next to each other. They just tape them together like above the header.
Yeah, we've all seen that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think the concept that the operator won't work if they're not working is probably not part of it's not an argument I'm going to try to make. I'm going to test them.
yeah, please do. Please do. And bypassing them, I assume somebody means by monkeying with the circuitry inside the operator. Um, I don't think that's possible on the newer units, but I could be wrong. Number 16, contract reversal test. Note the door may need servicing based on findings in previous checklist items before this test is conducted. And just to repeat an earlier slide, if you answer no to any of the checklist questions or encounter a problematic situation with the door, stop the inspection. Urge the homeowner to contact a trained door systems technician for inspection and repair. And we'll have a slide on that toward the end. So, contact reversal test, door fully open, place an 1.5 inch high solid object, for example, a wood 2x4 flat on the floor and the path of the door centered in the opening width. Standing inside the garage, safely away from the path of the door, press a remote control or a wall button control to close the door. And when the door contacts a 2x4 laid flat, does the door reverse direction and return to the fully open position? There you go. Almost done. During devastating wildfires in recent years, some people have been trapped in their garage. In response, some building code professionals have promoted battery backup on garage door operators as a partial remedy to this issue. The idea there being that the garage, before the fire gets there, people are trying to flee their houses, but the power has already been cut off, either because the fire has caused that, or even for a safety issue, they cut power off to areas, and therefore your operator doesn't work. And you get some older people that are not in a position to pull the red cord and manually lift the door, or for one reason or another, it doesn't work. And I am told that this is a known and a documented issue, that this has happened to people. And I've been involved with these people that are promoting this kind of provision in the codes, and it is moving forward. The first one was in California, 2018, and bottom line here, you have to have a battery backup, which many garage door operators come with, but many others do not. But you can't use the ones that do not in California anymore. And the provisions of that California law were pushed into the International Wildland Urban Interface Code, which is adopted in scattered wildland urban interface regions around the country. So it's, that kind of concern is moving forward, and you'll be seeing battery backup more and more. So DASMA has done two things. One, we've published a technical data sheet on opening a motorized garage door to exit a home through the garage in a power outage, in which we focus on periodic testing, disconnecting, and maintenance. But we've also added step 17 to technical data sheet 167, the battery backup test, if applicable. So if you have a battery backup, unplug the operator from the electrical receptacle, use the wall-mount control button, and does the door open and close normally? If
Okay,
you,
I knew this was coming, Dave. I knew this was coming, but it just finally did. The resistance, and you and I talked about this on the phone. The resistance that home inspectors have to doing that resistance test by putting that 2x4 on the floor, they're afraid that they're going to damage the door, and
yeah,
in some cases they have.
right, absolutely. I understand. We've made special note that you're certainly under no obligation to do that if you believe the door needs servicing. But we strongly recommend that the test be done. It is, very important to make sure that that critical safety feature is working right in case of entrapment. You don't want that to happen. And I don't know what can be done with respect to liability protection or any of that. From our standpoint, we strongly believe in that test. It actually is part of the federal law that is required, that the operator has to conform to UL 325, and that is a feature right there that is key to UL 325. So we certainly want to dialogue with the home inspectors about that and learn what we can to make this better and easier and safer and more secure, and protect your liability and all that.
So there are many opportunities for a device that we are testing to fail under test. So it's nice when the failure is easy to recover from. You could reset a breaker, or put it back on the track, or whatever it is. And not talking about just garage doors, but I mean, you could open and close a bifold door. It comes off the track. Say, well, the door's out of adjustment, but we can still put it back on the track and leave it the way we found it. So as long as something isn't physically damaged, we feel fairly comfortable doing that test. But there are times when things break. And if it was going to break on the test, that's not us making a mistake. That's us discovering the defect.
Yeah.
So what I liked a second ago, maybe you could repeat that and make sure I understood it correctly. You just said something about federal law requires. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Federal law requires the operator conform to UL 325. And this is a key provision of UL 325.
Every home inspector should know that. There's your defense right there, sounds to me. I mean, I have damaged 3 garage doors in my career, all of them before I started doing the 2 before test. I've tested probably 10,000 garage doors by running it down on something that's an inch and a half diameter, and I've never damaged a door doing that. But other people have, obviously.
I would really like to hear those stories. It's supposed to reverse within two seconds. Let me just finish my last 2 slides and then I'm going to back up, okay?
Okay. We've got 10 minutes.
Okay. So I just wanted to show this slide. If you do need a door professional, there's an excellent website here where you could go by zip code and find our dealer base. When I say us, I mean DASMA. We make the doors. Our dealers buy the doors from us and install them and service them and sell them to homeowners
Hey, Hollis,
and to contractors.
we can't see his slides. I see his face, but that's all. I don't see slides.
Did something change? I see it. Did something change, JT?
I see
I'm,
it.
I'm looking at, I'm
Yeah,
looking at,
JT, I think the problem's at your end.
You can change the
Go
view
ahead,
at the
Dave.
top.
Keep going, Dave.
go ahead, Dave.
Okay. That's it. I just wanted to share doors.org. That's where you can find a good
Okay, I
garage
got
door.
it. Thank you.
You can find a good garage door dealer. And I just want to thank everybody very much for inviting me here today and for your attention. Now I want to make one last comment about that 16 test, and it's, if I can find it here. Maybe it's on the California slide. No, it's not there.
Where can we get a copy of the checklist?
Yeah, that's DASMA.com. DASMA.com, technical data sheets, 267. Here we go, right here. 2 seconds. That might help you out a little bit. If you count to 2.5 and that sucker hasn't reversed, cut it off. It's failed the test.
Yeah, it's
So I don't know
this is
if that helped.
this is a conversation that comes up every time we talk about garage doors.
Okay.
Um, so I might bring it up in Cleveland.
Yeah, please do. Absolutely. We expect it.
So during my introduction, I asked people for pictures. Let me expand that and ask for stories. So I need garage door pictures and garage door stories that I can share with the Garage Door Manufacturers Association in September. So send those please to me at admin@cyberashy.org. Do we have any more questions for Dave?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Steel roll-up doors that
Yes.
don't have an air switch at the bottom.
Yes.
Are they required to have an air switch? I think they are.
Okay. So are you talking about like coil up doors, like rolling doors
Yep.
in homes?
It would be behind the house. Yeah, they're commonly used in DC.
Yeah,
That's
I know exactly what you're talking about.
at the back of the
Oh,
property.
Right. Well, no, we that be considered a commercial use or a residential use? Because those are definitely commercial doors with commercial operators on
Right, it's a commercial door in residential use.
it. And a commercial operator too.
Right,
Commercial operator and a commercial door.
yep,
So, from our standpoint, that's a misapplication. How an inspector would view that, and I don't mean you, I mean a building inspector or a code official, how they would view that, I don't know, but I would be real careful with something like that. Um, the reason requirements are different for residential and commercial is that residential is considered more sensitive with kids around and things like that. So you have more safety requirements for residential doors. If you have a residential and for residential operators, if you have a residential application with commercial doors and commercial operators, you have less safety, devices and provisions in the system than you probably should. So, I think that would need to be attended to at that time, rather than just treating it like a normal commercial application. For commercial applications, a commercial door such as a rolling door has to have either a sensing edge or photo eyes or constant pressure close, where you have to keep your finger on that button while the door goes all the way down. One of those three. When you said air switch, do you mean like
like the
like
rubber air
a
back.
pneumatic sensing edge?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Either that or an electric sensing edge, or photo eyes, or constant pressure to close. That's what you would look for in a commercial application. Residential application, you're in what we would consider a misapplication right there.